Hey everyone, welcome back. This week we're going to talk a little bit about the thorax, the thoracic spine, the rib cage, the shoulder, and the shoulder blade, and how those kind of all work together in a regional pattern. We can develop some regional dysfunction that can lead to neck stiffness, can certainly lead to shoulder stiffness, and even a loss in ability at the shoulder and with rotation. So when we're taking a look at the shoulder, a lot of times when people come in with shoulder issues, neck issues, maybe rib cage issues, many times what we see is one shoulder lower than the other. If you ask them to stand up straight, you'll notice a significant difference in the elevation, the height of one shoulder as it relates to the other. And you can even notice that in the hand length as well. One hand will actually be lower than the other. As you can see, if that happens, that's either going to cause a little bit of a side bend to occur at the neck. And so what's going on here is that a lot of times, if one shoulder is lower than the other, that shoulder is also likely going to be a little bit forward. And so you can see how that might set that person up for kind of living in a position of rotation. And so if we pull the skeleton over here, if one shoulder is lower than the other, and that's going to essentially pull you forward a little bit on that side. What that means is you're going to end up with a lot of compression through the top of the rib cage on that side, in this case, the right shoulder. That's also going to drive that right shoulder forward, further tightening up these tissues and compressing that rib cage. That will lead to a loss in shoulder internal rotation. So if we raise that arm up to 90 degrees and we flex the elbow and try to internally rotate, that is going to be limited because of the compression here at the front of the rib cage. On the back side, what you're going to end up with is a really lengthened set of muscles here, the muscles that attach the shoulder blade to the spine. So that's going to include the upper trapezius, the middle trapezius, maybe a little bit of the lower trapezius, certainly going to include the rhomboids. It's going to put some extra demand on levator scapula. So you're going to end up with neck tightness, shoulder tightness, both in front because it's compressed, but also in back because this is elongated. That could lead to, so a stretched out set of muscles right here between the shoulder blade and the spine could lead to some tightness and some knots and some feelings of tension, feelings that these muscles need to be stretched out, when in actuality what we need is that shoulder blade to come back into its neutral position. Once that happens, these tissues, these muscles won't be so lengthened, and the tightness and the stiffness, the muscle knots, that soreness that you're feeling, that those knots that you're trying to get rid of between the shoulder blade and the spine, that'll begin to go away. So a couple of really easy and simple exercises to begin to loosen that up. Okay, for this first exercise, go ahead and grab a foam roll. And if we're dealing with one shoulder that's more compressed on one side, what you'll notice, if I exaggerate this a little bit, is that you're actually side bent to that side, which means that right rib cage, so in this case, if the right shoulder is compressed, the right rib cage is actually compressed, which means that your diaphragm is working differently from one side to the other. You're going to essentially be overinflated on the opposite side, right? And which means that your left oblique, in this case, your left oblique is probably shut down a little bit. We want to make sure that we compress that side that's too opened up, and we want to lengthen the side that's too closed down. So we're going to grab that foam roll, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up that side that has dropped. So get that foam roll, go ahead and put the middle of your rib cage right on top of that foam roll. Make sure that your head and neck are supported. We're going to get some compression through that side. Now we're going to open up the opposite side, open up that side that's depressed by reaching at about a 45-degree angle. You can see I'm not quite at 90-90 with the hips and the knees. I'm going to do a long, slow, silent inhale. That's really important. The longer and slower and more silent that your inhale is, the more you're going to fill up into those lungs, and the more that your rib cage is going to be expanded. Long, slow, silent inhale. Reach very gently with that top hand. Then exhale. Long, slow, silent. See if you can feel a little bit of oblique on both sides, squeezing that air out. Sigh that air out like you're trying to fog up a mirror. Reach a little more, long, slow, silent inhale. One more time. Okay, now that you can feel that stretch, you're a little bit expanded. We've started engaging the obliques on the opposite side. We'll go into the second exercise. So for the second exercise, you're just going to go into what's called a diagonal sit. Some people call this a Z sit. And so we want to get into, again, if my right side is depressed, I'm going to sit down on my right hip. If I have the mobility, I'm going to put the bottom of my right foot against the thigh of my right leg. You can see my left leg. My left hip is actually kind of pointed straight out away from me, and that back knee is going to be a little bit past 90 degrees, not sticking straight out, straight behind me, but a little bit curled in behind my hip. Okay, so now in this position, I'm going to stick this hand out here, a little bit of an A-frame through here, not too far away. because I want to sink in and let that shoulder come up toward my ear. So once again, we're in that elongated position on that right side. We're going to use our lung, especially our right lung, to literally lift up our right shoulder. We'll also use the right obliques and a little bit of pressure through the left, we're going to use the left obliques and a little bit of pressure through that left knee to regain some hip internal rotation on the left side, as well as wake up those left obliques a little bit and begin to compress this left rib cage. Okay, so once again, reaching out, shoulder comes up to the ear, long, slow, silent inhale. Once again, can't emphasize this enough. If the breath is slow and silent, you're going to fill up more of that lung and you're going to get more expansion at that rib cage. If you try to force the air in too quickly, you'll actually create some compression and your inhalation won't be as deep and as effective. Long, slow, silent inhale. Sigh the air out, find that left oblique, very gently press that left knee into the floor. Relax, breathe in, long, slow, and silent. Big stretch right here. Pressing and feeling that left oblique engage. So for both of those exercises, 4 breaths, 2 sets. Remember, you're only going to do this with that foam roll compressed against the side that is not descended. So in my case, I'm only going to use that foam roll on the left side. I'm only going to set up in this diagonal sit position on the right side. I hope that helps. Please let me know if you have any questions, and we will see you here again soon.